Okay, guys, what a treat this was to talk with Max Rooke. He is one of my oldest friends and he is brilliant, and you guys are about to see why. Max Rooke is a high performance coach and associate head coach for Pepperdine University women's soccer. A former pro player for the Reading FC and Great Britain's national team, Max also starred at Mercer University, where I got to know him, earning All-American honors and having his jersey retired. That was such a cool moment. He now coaches high achievers on how to overcome fear, anxiety, and burnout, helping them unlock the difference between good to great in all areas of life. He has a deep understanding of mindset and behavior, and he empowers others to reach their full potential. Outside of coaching, he loves supporting his wife's volleyball team and living life with purpose and passion. Make sure you also check out his book and this podcast that we have with Max Rooke. Hello and welcome to the Power Up Your Life podcast, powered by GoBundance Women. I'm Mandy McAllister.
And I'm Kelly Resendez.
And today we have such a treat for you, the one and only Max Rooke. Max, hi.
How you doing, ladies? Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation. It's going to be awesome.
Me too. Well, Max, tell us just in your own words a little bit about your journey and what it is that you stand for.
Got it. Well, there's a lot. I have to make it short. But originally from England, grew up in England, and quickly fell in love with the game of soccer, football, and that kind of became my pathway. Like every young boy wants to grow up and be a professional soccer player, so that was my pathway for a number of years. I got to play for Reading Football Club, which was an amazing experience. Got to have some really cool experiences there, and then got to like the age of 18, and they suddenly say, "Hey, you're probably not going to make it, in this sport." Like my first real sucker punch, and so at that time in my life, I was trying to figure out what's next, and does it go trying with another club and try and keep down the same path? And at that point in my life, this opportunity to come out to America presented itself. Like, hey, have you ever thought about coming and studying in the US and playing soccer in the US? I had no idea. Like, I didn't know anybody that had done it. So there was something in my head that said, you know what, there's something more, So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I had a positive attitude, a suitcase, and a dream. I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. So I step on this plane. I came out in 1998. That's where I met the beautiful, wonderful Mandy McAllister. That's where our paths crossed at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, of all places. And then that led me on a completely different path where kind of fulfilled a lot of great dreams, playing for the national team, got to play in 2 world championships, got to have these incredible experiences. And then coaching came into the way, because it was like, how do I give back to the game for what the game gave to me? So quickly coaching became something I want to get into. And so helping people have the same experiences that I had. And that led me to being a high school coach and teacher. I then met my beautiful wife of 17 years, who is also a collegiate volleyball coach as well on the beach side. So we do this thing called Life Together. And then that led us to the University of Illinois in Springfield, where she accepted the position she wanted. So we was there for a couple of years, shoveling snow, every day in the driveway just to get to work. And then I got the call 12 years ago, back in 2014. I got the call from a guy named Tim Ward. And he said, do you want to come out? And do you want to be my right-hand man at a place called Pepperdine University in Malibu, California? And so that's where I've been for the last 12 years, working with some of the most elite women in the country. We're one of the top women's soccer programs in the country. But the last thing I was going to say is along that way, quickly became evident that like some of the stuff that was inside of me, the messages, it was more than just about the teams I was working with. So I was like, how do I make this bigger? So I created this thing called L2TM, Life to the Max University. And so I just created all of these books and online courses and programs and consulting and speaking events. And now I get to kind of share on a bigger scale, kind of all the experiences I've had along that way. And how do I help people, empower them to be great, and take their lives to the next level and help them be more successful, whether it be in sports and business and life. So it's been a beautiful journey. One of them is meeting you, Mandy, and that's it.
Is that all, Max? Nothing else? That was like a terrible story. Like, I don't have chills. I don't holy moly.
I can say too that I know personally that Malibu, California is slightly better than Springfield, Illinois. I do believe that to be true. But one thing that's worth pointing out too, and how it aligns with GoBundance Women and our primary listeners of this podcast, is the bulk of your coaching has been done with women, with girls
For
in
sure.
their rite of passage, right? So I'm
For sure.
really curious, just from a leadership perspective, talk to me a little bit about, common struggles that you see in girls and women and their journey towards leadership.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. Yeah, I mean, such a blessing. Some of the girls I get to work with now, I mean, not to name drop, but like somebody that kind of is in the limelight right now. So Lynn Williams, she's on the US Women's National Team. She played at Pepperdine, started a career at Pepperdine, and had this illustrious career. She just got to captain for the first time the US Women's National Team, and to see who she was and who she's become is quite a phenomenal story. And there's so many stories of not just players that go and play professionally, but go on and do, be successful, like say entrepreneurs, successful lawyers, doctors, whatever. But I will say this: when they first come into the program, let's just use Pepperdine for instance. When they come into the program, they're used to being the best, right? They're used to being a big fish in a little pond, and then they come to Pepperdine women's soccer, and all of a sudden now they're a little fish in a big pond, swimming with some extraordinary young women, right? And if you haven't been the woman, or if you're used to being the woman, then you kind of get to that secondary kind of like, now I have to be the support role. It's difficult for them. So I think, Mandy, to your point, what I was going to say is, what's on my heart to say is that a lot of these young women, it's helping them understand that their value doesn't come from what they do; it comes from who they are. And you don't have to be the starter. You don't have to score all the goals. You don't have to be, the all conference person to make a difference. You can be on our team, and you can be beautiful and extraordinary and strong and make a difference in our team. And it doesn't matter whether you play 90 minutes or you play 1 minute. It doesn't matter whether you step on the field or you don't step on the field. And that's a shift. That's a shift in mindset, helping them get their strength and their power from somewhere else other than what they've been conditioned all their life, which is I score the goals, therefore, that's who I am. Like for instance, I could say this too: injuries. When somebody gets like a significant injury and they're out for a significant amount of time, if soccer is their whole life, their identity is ripped from them. And then they'll come to me, they'll come to my office, Max, can you help me? I'm like, of course. And we sit down and we go through these processes and stuff, which don't go through now. But it's like, then you get to the end of it and they'll come back and I'll say, Max, you were right. At the beginning, I thought it was the end. Yeah. I thought my career was over, my life was over. He's like, and now 9 months later, I'm realizing it's the beginning. Yeah. Because this beautiful 9 months in my life that I thought was wrecking my life is actually setting me up, because now I know who I am without soccer. So when I add the most precious thing back into my life, I'm an even more better version of myself, And so those things, you can't just tell somebody that. They have to live it, right? Yeah. They have to live it, they have to go through it. And so I'm very proud of not just me, but what we do in our process to help those young women fly,
That's amazing. Well, and Max, you had an amazing pivot, right? Like, you were told when you were in England, like, you're not good enough to do this as a professional. Yeah. And yet you've made a profession out of doing this, right? And so I think the attachment that so many people have to the path, right? It could have been, I'm going to play for, Manchester, whoever your favorite team is.
Yeah.
Don't mean to offend you if I said the wrong one.
Good. I'm no good.
A little crazy about this football game over there, but like really looking at what it took for you to make that pivot. You kind of nailed it, which was, I couldn't have an attachment to what it looked like. Like, how do you guide someone through that? Because there are so many women out there that are going to be listening to this that have an idea that they're attached to, and they have so much disappointment and stress and even imposter syndrome tied around trying to get that, when a lot of times it is, being open to whatever life brings. How would you coach someone through that?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind would be, not to plug the book, but Mandy's got the book, but so I wrote this book called Max Moments, and it's all about how do you come back to the Tony Robbins thing? How do you master meaning in your life, right? How do you become a master of meaning? And when you can really understand why things happen the way they do in your life, then you realize that everything's part of a bigger plan. And what I mean by that is that there's a max moment that's in the book, and these all max moments are 42 little max moments, 2, 3, 4 pages long. So there's this one called Connect the Dots, and this Connect the Dots one in the book. It's a very personal one because it's about basically my story, Kelly, which is what you just said about like, what did I learn from being cut by Redding? And so, yeah, you remember the old children's books, right? When you did the coloring books where you connect, dot 1 to dot 2, dot 2 to dot 3, and then and there's like, it's a bunch of dots. You're like, what the heck is this? And all of a sudden, you connect all the dots, and then a rabbit appears on the screen. You're like, what the heck? There's a rabbit on the screen. What's all this? Well, I look at the connect the dots coloring book like life. A lot of times that we look at events that happen in our life like a singular dot, like getting cut from Reading is a singular dot in my life. Getting an injury is a singular dot in my life. Not getting the contract that I wanted is a singular dot in my life. Getting told no is a singular dot in our life. And we look at those dots and we don't connect them, but through experience, when you can get to a place where you can actually look and say, that thing that happened in my life is actually connected to this and to this and to this. And so you can actually create a pathway where everything is happening for you and not to you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it takes some conditioning of the mind, of course. It's not like an instant thing, but I look at now, if I hadn't got cut by Reading, I never would have made the biggest decision in my life to come to America. If I hadn't come to America, I never would have met Mandy. I never would have met my beautiful wife. If I didn't meet my beautiful wife, then life to the max wouldn't exist, because Noelle was the one that told me, you got to do this, you got to go for it. And if I hadn't have, created life to the max, then I wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't have written a book, and I wouldn't be doing what we're doing today. So I now look back and say, it's exactly the way it's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the way it's supposed to happen. But in the moment, it's really difficult. But if we can take ourselves out of that for a moment and say, this is just a part of the process. Can I give you one more story? Is that possible?
Yeah.
So something recent just happened about this idea of master and meaning. So our team this past year, we were fortunate, because this is fresh in my mind. We just won the championship. Very grateful for that. We just won the championship this past year. And that's never an easy thing to do, to win the championship. Rewind a year ago, on the very last day of the season last year, we lost the championship on our home field in front of a home crowd. We lost it. Last day of the season, we had to tie or win the game to win the conference. The team that we were playing, Gonzaga, they had to beat us to win the conference. It was first against second. They beat us, boom, they win the championship. Devastated, right? Okay, what does this mean, right? Like, what does this mean? Everybody's just emotional. Everybody, just myself included, our girls. So in that moment, part of my role is, as we were entering into this past year, is like, how do we empower our girls to use this as something that is helping us, not hurting us? How can it be fuel? How can we turn this into a great story? Like, this is going to be one heck of a story. We're going to do this turnaround thing. So last year, I'll narrow it down. We had this great season, and we get to very close to the end of the season, about 2 to 3 games left, and we were on this trajectory, and we're like, man, we're doing this thing. Kelly, we are in it to win it. Mandy, we're going to put this thing that happened last year. We're going for it, right? And then we're doing this, and our girls were phenomenal. And then with 2 games left to go, we go to this place to play this game, and we're neck and neck, not with the team we played, but there's another team that was neck and neck with. And we had to win this game. And we tied. In the very last minute of the game, we conceded a goal. And from being 1-0 up, we tied this game 1-1. And all of a sudden, I see Mandy's reaction, right? Everybody's emotional kind of just the floor dropped out from under us. You're like, this is about to happen again, And we've all been there, right? You know what I'm talking about. No, it doesn't have to be soccer, but it's just that feeling in your heart when you just drops. Everything just drops from you. You're like, oh. And it's hard to console those young women in that moment. And so we circled up, and we pray after every game. So we circled up. And Tim, who I've been working with for, like I say, 12 years now, he came into that circle and he said, look at me, ladies. He said, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're powerful, and you're made for this moment. He's like, and I don't know why or how this story or how this part of the story connects with our story, but everything is going to work out the way it's meant to. You've got to believe. And so we left that circle, and everybody's still dejected. And, the questions, what does this mean? Are we going to do this again? Is it going to be a second year in a go where we're going to drop the ball? We're going to have total control. We're going to drop the ball. And we get on the plane, we go home. It happened that the team we were playing, they didn't have lights. And so we were flying home, and the team that we were neck and neck with heading into the last day of the season was playing an evening game. So we're on the flight home, and I hadn't turned my phone on. We land, And obviously the girls behind me, they turn their phones on, and all you hear is this: oh my God, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm turning around looking, what is going on? And the flight is full, and the team that we were neck and neck with, the team that they were playing, and I'm making this longer than it needs to be, so my apologies, is the team that they were playing. They have a great coaching staff. They're on this great trajectory, but the team they were playing at that time wasn't as good. And so I'd say this: 9 times out of 10, the team that we were neck and neck with would beat them. 49 times out of 50, 99 times out of 100. That night, they dropped the ball as well.
Mm.
And so all
What
of a sudden,
story.
everything's back on the table, and we head into the last day of the season, exactly 1 year from the day, playing on our home field for a championship.
Amazing.
And
This
you
needs to
can
be a
fill in
movie.
and you can fill in the blank, and you know exactly what happened, which is we weren't going to let that happen again. But my point being is, in that moment, you could say, is it the end or is it the beginning?
Yeah.
Right.
In that circle,
And
it's like when everybody's like, it's like, is it the end? You could be like, this is it, pointing fingers, it's your fault, it's our fault, we did it again, here we go again, poor us, we're always the unlucky one. So it's, how do we master meaning in our life? And if we can get, as leaders and high performers, we get to a place where we can learn to master meaning in our life and create better meanings for things that happen in our life, I believe we get better outcomes. So anyway, sorry,
and it
that's long.
starts. Yes. Well, it starts with that decision. It's one person's decision to lead towards what you want rather than to run from what you don't want. I'm curious, Max, like you have become this incredible leader, and you're a leader who trains leaders, which I think is the ultimate win in the world of leadership, right? Well, I'm sure you've seen some things that our leadership fails. Tell me some of the biggest leadership mistakes that you see happening in sports, in business, in any sort of high performance that you work with?
Yeah. I think probably one of them would just be what we focus on, right? What focus goes, energy flows. What are you choosing to focus on, right? We choose on things that help us or hurt us, make us better, make us worse, push us towards what we want, further away from what we want. I think when we can get clear on what we focus on, that's important. And I believe that results are important, goals are important, but if you look at like a continuum, okay, I believe that leaders create the culture, culture conditions behavior, and behavior drives a result. But a lot of times we don't go through that continuum. What we do is we, as leaders, we flip straight to the end and we just focus on results. It's like, hey, what's the result and how am I going to get it? And then if it's not happening, it's like this roller coaster. Yes, we're hitting our goals, we're getting close to goals, we're really far away from our goals. And then emotionally we get attached to that result, to where, we kind of ride this roller coaster. So if you actually break it down, you're like, okay, what is it that drives the result? It's our behaviors, right? It's our actions, it's our habits and stuff like that. Well, from a team setting, because you're talking about leaders, Mandy, right? Is okay, well, what sort of really conditions those behaviors? Well, it's the culture that you create in the workforce, on the team, day to day, right? And well, what ultimately creates that culture is going to be the coach, the leader. So being very conscious of like, what environment am I creating? What is that culture like? What is it like to show up every single day? And I go back to that story in that moment. You've got probably 30 seconds to deliver a message in that circle. What message are you delivering? That creates the culture. The culture then conditions the behavior. What are we going to do after it? Are we going to sulk? Are we going to sit down? Are we going to throw our hands up and say, poor us? Or are we going to buckle up, lean into our faith and say, you know what? We have a strong faith that everything's going to work out. We have to play our part 100%. We have to show up and do everything like it depends on us. But ultimately, you got to pray like it depends on God, or wherever your faith is, right? But it's just, you got to lean into that, and it's like you got to have a belief that everything's going to work out the way it's meant to. So this is where I'm going, is that continuum. But I think we skip those 2 steps. We go straight to result. It's all result. Can we focus on creating a culture that creates the type of behaviors that we want and conditions those behaviors so that we can get the results from?
Max, I'm gonna ask you a question, because you probably deal with this a lot. So a lot of the people that are listening that run businesses or trying to scale see employees or talent out there, partners that have a lot of potential, but they haven't actualized it. And so they invest time and energy in someone where they're like, or you have a kid that's the same way, right? Could be somebody listening that's like, my kid has so much potential, and yet
Yeah.
they haven't actualized it. How do you coach a leader on navigating bringing out the most in them, or coaching them on like, hey, unless they've actualized the potential, it's just going to be wasted time until they're ready to be able to take that next step? What would you give the audience on that?
Mm. Yeah, it's that's a great one, Kelly. Oh, got me turning here. I think I like the idea of really bringing out what brings out the best in us, right? And oftentimes I think there's two spectrums, and I think this is what you're asking, Kelly. But this is my first thought is that I have a lot of things where I talk about this idea of going from good to great. Like, what is the difference between good and great? Like a good result, great result, a good team and a great team, a good life and a great life, a good marriage and a great marriage, right? You know what I'm saying? What's all of those different things? And oftentimes there's two sides to the spectrum. There's inspiration, a compelling future. When you can help somebody understand like something that's really compelling to them, and you've got to understand the person first, right? So you got to understand their world. But when you can understand whoever it is that you're working with, Kelly, right, and you can create a compelling future for them, like actually tap into something that's going to propel them. It's like this push versus pull mentality, right? It's like when you're trying to push towards your goal, sometimes it gets hard. And I've been there, I've done that, where I'm like pushing, and you get bogged down. But when you guys feel like you get pulled in a direction, like I'm being called to something, it's a different type of energy. So when you can tap into that for them, is helping them understand what is that pull mentality, what are they being drawn towards, what is that compelling future. The other side of it is just desperation, like helping them understand, like, if you don't change right now, like, is this really what you want? And nothing happens in the middle, nothing happens in good land, nothing happens in average. It's inspiration or it's desperation. I remember one time we had a player, which you mind me saying, she was a goalkeeper, and she's a phenomenal young woman, a phenomenal human being. And she was the number two. Goalkeepers, right? There's only one goalkeeper who can play. And so typically you have two or three goalkeepers on a roster, but only one can play at a time. And so if you're the number two or the number three, it's difficult. Well, she was the number two. We had three keepers. She wasn't the number one, but she wasn't number three. So she's the number two keeper. She got set in average land. She's like, I want to be the number one, but I don't know if I want to do what it takes to be the number one. She said, but I'm not the number three. And whenever we travel, we would travel two goalies. The third keeper was never traveling, but she was always the number two goalie. So she said, well, I'm traveling. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm having all these great experiences, but I'm not playing. I kind of want to play, but she was stuck in average land. So one day we knew that there was potential, and Kelly used the word potential. And that's a beautiful word, because I think it's like, how do you get out of that word potential? So we did one thing, and this is the idea of desperation. We left her off a trip. So we announced the rosters, and we said she needs to learn a lesson. She's not the number one. So we left her, and we took the number three keeper instead of the number two keeper on this trip. And when we did, as soon as she saw her name, what do you think she did? Can I come meet in the office? I'm like, yeah, come down the office. Let's go. She said, what are you doing? I can't believe it. You're leaving me off the trip. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I'm the number two. You should be. I'm like, you got to earn this thing, So we left her off the trip. She said, I can't believe it. It's not fair. We're like, okay, well, it's not fair that you have all this potential and you're not doing anything with it, And long story short, she wasn't on the trip. We came back from that weekend. We had a successful weekend. It was great. We came back that Monday morning. Who was the first person into training? Brielle.
Yep.
Who was the person who stayed after practice? Brielle. Who was the person who knocked on my door and wanted extra film work? Brielle. Who was the hardest working player in practice? Brielle. Who was the best goalkeeper out of all three in room for the next week? Brielle.
Awesome.
And you know what happened? The next 2 years, she went from being the number two goalkeeper, not only to being the number one goalkeeper, but being the two-time WCC Conference Player of the Year, which has never happened in our program. And the difference is she got left off of one trip, because all of a sudden potential turned into desperation, which then turned into like, I got to figure this thing out. So you got to get people into one of those two places. If you get there, game changes.
You gotta absolutely, you gotta know that person first. But what an incredible way to light a fire under her and help her see more out of herself. You got to kind of borrow that light that someone else sees in you before you can see it in yourself. sometimes.
Sure.
So, Max, just like always, you leave me with so many things to think about, so many nuggets. I've got a couple that were my favorite. A thing that we talk a lot about, and having had injuries as an athlete and changing my work a number of times, this idea that your value comes not from what you do, it comes from who you are as a person. That is so incredibly key in athletics and in everything else. And I also love this idea of the leader creates the culture, which influences the behaviors, and the behaviors are what lead to the results. Kelly, did you have any favorite nuggets?
Yeah, there's so many nuggets, but I'm going to actually focus on who Max is being today, because one of the important things that we can do as a leader and as a woman in business or man in business, if you are listening, is to really be influential. And Max's ability to tell a story. And I've never gotten the chills more times in one podcast. If we have an award for like the most chills in a podcast, Max, you got it, right? And I just want to wonder, like, Mandy, why didn't we go to Malibu to do this interview? Come on. Like, when people are in amazing places, let's hop on a plane. I was just in LA yesterday. So anyway, like, your ability to tell a story and invoke emotion in the person that's listening is at one of the highest levels I've ever seen. And I'm going to guess you didn't come that way. Some of these things are learned skills. There might have been some natural part of that as well, but that's really the greatest nugget that I got, is that part of your success is that you have really learned how to invoke emotion in other people to be able to pull them probably where they want to go, right? And that is an amazing quality as a coach. So thank you so much. Like, that was awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love what you're doing, ladies. Keep up the great work. So
I have one final question for you, Max. One thing that matters a lot to us is, you got to have an ask. You got two arms for a reason. Want to pull yourself up and want to pull other people up with you, because you give so much to other people. For us and our listeners, what is an introduction or a resource that if you had it, it would change the ball game for you? So we want to help you. What's a resource or an introduction that would change the ball game for you?
Yeah.
To connect with me?
Yeah, or to support you.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you very much. Well, I just took everything that I did and I boiled it down into this thing called L2TM University. Go to my website, www.maxrooke.com, and then on there, I just created this thing called L2TM University, which is basically a pathway into all of the things I do. So there's like these introductory things that you can kind of tap into that are free and stuff like that. And there's more advanced courses and coaching programs. And then I have this like master's level mastermind that I'm doing. And so you can go on there, and wherever you're at in your journey, there is probably something there that can help you get you from where you are to where you want to be. So, but it's all there on my website, www.maxrooke.com.
We will put that in the show notes. Any leader, any athlete, any coach, Max is the go-to for becoming better, getting to that great. So thank you for joining us on the Power Up Your Life podcast, powered by GoBundance Women. If you liked or got anything out of this episode, make sure that you're subscribing, make sure you're sharing, because I know Max needs to hit more lives. We will see you on next week's episode.
Thanks, Max.